Welcome back to Critical Corner, unfiltered commentary, not your truth, the real truth. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back from the Daily Wire. I want to say up front, I am a subscriber of the Daily Wire. This is not a paid promotion. You can see, thank you for subscribing around the top there. I encourage everybody to subscribe to the Daily Wire just for the reasons that they're in the culture war now. With their movies, they're pushing back. They're doing a great job. And I encourage everybody, if they can afford it, of course, to subscribe to the Daily Wire. I'm sitting here drinking my hot tea out of the Leftist Tears mug that I got when I first signed up. So let me give you a little, you can only hear me. Leftist Tears tastes so much better out of a Daily Wire mug. It's a good mug, by the way. Heavy metal. Keeps the tea really hot for a long time, and cold drinks cold. But enough of the free advertisement. Let's read the latest from Ukraine according to the Daily Wire. It's Monday, February 28th, and this is your morning wire. Now, there is a full podcast to read, but can't do that because of copyright. As Russian invasion of Ukraine continued over the weekend, concerns grew that Vladimir Putin was becoming increasingly erratic in response to the unexpectedly strong Ukrainian resistance. Well, he put conscripts in with very little or no training. On Sunday, Ukraine and Russia agreed to talks without preconditions, while at the same time, Putin escalated nuclear threats. Now, they did have their sit-down, and the Ukrainian president said, we agreed on having more meetings in the future, which means absolutely nothing. This is from Condoleezza Rice. He was always calculating, referring to Putin, and cold. But this is different. He seems erratic. This is ever-deepening delusional rendering of history. It was always a kind of victimology about what happened to them, but now it goes back to blaming Lenin for the foundation of Kiev and Ukraine. He says that Ukraine has no right to exist. It's really Russia. Yeah, okay. Russian forces continue to assault key Ukrainian cities over the weekend, but met with far more resistance than originally expected. While tens of thousands of Ukrainian women and children have fled to mostly urban areas, all male citizens between 18 and 60 were not allowed to leave the country. Now, I'm 65, and if I was Ukrainian, I wouldn't leave. I stand with those guys. Maybe I'm a little older, but there's something I could do to help. Countless Ukrainians have joined the fight, many of them with weapons given to them by Ukrainian government. Now, if this gets long and hard, occupying a country that big is logistically not easy. And you're going to have all these weapons floating around, and God knows how many they're going to smuggle in. If the Russians do take all the land mass, you're going to have small guerrilla pockets of resistance. And that is a huge pain in the ass to any occupying force. Other citizens are instructed to help with forms of defenses and Molotov cocktails. Russian forces still haven't managed to breach the center of the city, the capital. And I'm not going to read all of this. You can read as I scroll through it. Russian forces have made major inroads in the areas of Ukraine they first invaded. In the north, they flooded the Belarus border, the outskirts of Kiev. In the northeast, they've moved inland from the Russian border on the edge of another major city, the second largest. Based on current information, the Russians have entered that city. And like I said, I'll breeze through this. I'm not going to read it all. On Saturday's report, the U.S. offered to evacuate Ukrainian's president, but he turned them down, choosing to stay in Kiev while surrounded by Russian forces. I got to give that guy a round of applause. He may not be the president. He's the president, I believe, in 2014 when the Americans took out. My understanding is Ukrainian government and put their own person in. I'm not sure if it was this individual. I don't recall. But is it a democracy? Kind of. But it doesn't really matter at this point. They're on somebody else's soil trying to take over their country. So I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just amazing how the Ukrainians have held out. According to an EU official, Putin is furious the invasion hasn't been easy, which seems to align with that escalation in his rhetoric. Putin ordered the status of Russia's nuclear deterrent forces as special combat readiness, worrying that many will see Putin as increasingly unstable. I think that's just saber-rattling. That's something the all authoritarian governments do. Sanctions on SWIFT, the international banking system, would finally be imposed after European leaders came to an agreement. Now, I'm kind of for it and against it at the same time. You've got to be able to give Putin an out to save face. For authoritarian regimes, saving face with his populace is a #1 priority, i.e. propaganda. You back a wild, wounded animal into the corner, they will lash out. I'm not saying take it easy on Putin. I'm not saying don't put sanctions on him. But give him a way to squirrel out of this and save as much face as possible. That's probably the smartest way to go. Will Biden's national security team figure it out? Well, they got to be smarter than Biden and Kamala Harris. That's a given. That's a pretty low bar. But are they smart to figure out how he can partially save face by withdrawing? We'll see. Elon Musk responded to a request from the Ukrainian government to open up his Starlink internet service, which he did. Zelensky is now demanding that Russia lose its UN Security Council spot. Of course, he's going to do the hard rhetoric. Russia will never lose that spot ever. And we'll go through, a couple of these. I'll breeze through these. You can read them. This went back to the Obama's administration and willingness to arm the Ukrainians, or in their view, to stand up to Putin. That was a while back. And, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm going to say so. But if you noticed, he took Crimea when Obama was president, and he had this invasion when Biden was president. So is it coincidence? I don't think so. And we're going to breeze through this. The nominee of the Supreme Court, that's just some of the headlines. She's a far-left, progressive whack job whose decisions have been struck down unanimously by other courts on appeal. Conservative people. It was a leftist / almost progressive type Supreme Court nominee that left or announced his retirement. So we're going to have to eat this one, and it's going to be replaced with another much, much farther left progressive nut bar. And that's the way it is. We're going to have to bite the bullet on this one and eat this loss, because that's just the way it goes. I mean, they have control of the Senate. And to tell you the truth, Republicans have no backbone. They always vote for these far left extremists because they say they're technically qualified for the job. When the Republicans start growing a set, maybe we'll see a change. But like I say, I'm going to breathe through some of this. She voted against Trump and his administration on multiple high-profile cases. She temporarily blocked Trump's policy would have fast-tracked deportations, while on another she sided with the House Democrats, ruling that the member of the Trump's administration would not be exempt from testifying in the Russian collusion trial, which was all BS. All absolute bull. And we go through a few of the things that are going on today. You see some of the masks. A lot of these cities, like in states, like I live in upstate New York, not New York City, thank God. And the mask requirements for schools and other places are slowing out. And everybody's saying they're following the science. Well, technically, that's true. They're not following medical science. They're following political science. I find it amazing. As the midterms get closer and closer, the restrictions and authoritarian rules are easing up. Coincidence? Or is that following medical science? I guess you could figure that out on your own. The CDC has officially released mask recommendations for most Americans. And that's the way it is. And that's some of the other things that went on this week. The world is still turning, even though there's a war in Ukraine. The world is still turning. We're still looking to see how this is going to work out. This will change Europe's foreign policy relationships for decades, at least in my lifetime, and I'm 65. So we're going to have to see. Can Ukraine hold on? Well, logistically, the Russians just say, F this, but somehow they got to find a way to save face. Or they ask for the president of Ukraine to step down. Will that be their reward? And will the NATO and the United States throw him under the bus to have Putin withdraw and put in a different president? That might be on the table. I'm just guessing, of course. We're going to have to see. But even if the Ukraine government collapses because of the war, the guerrilla war will go on and on and on and on. And the crazy part is Russia didn't learn the same mistakes that America has done, England, France, all the European powers over the last couple of centuries, is you can't beat a people that won't give up. You can't win. You cannot win. And the Russians learned that in Afghanistan. That was the beginning of the end of the Soviet Union for them. That financial collapse, as well as prestige and authoritarian collapse when they withdrew from Afghanistan, was the beginning of the end for the Soviet Union. And Putin knows that. I don't get the egos that say, this has been tried 50 other times, but this time it's going to be different. Well, it never is. It never is. History doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. And until the next time, goodbye and good luck.